Every month, millions of people pay for things they already feel like they own. Netflix, Spotify, cloud storage, software, and memberships. And that's what makes the modern subscription economy so strange. Because a few decades ago, when you bought something, it belonged to you. Today, more and more parts of modern life only belong to you for as long as you keep paying. And most people never notice the change happening. Because subscription didn't take over modern life by force, they arrived disguised as convenience. Cheaper, easier, faster. And while everyone was enjoying the convenience, something much bigger was quietly disappearing: ownership. And that change created one of the most profitable business models in human history. A business model built on a simple idea. What if customers never stop paying? This is the subscription trap. And almost nobody talks about how powerful it really is. For most of human history, buying something was simple. You paid once, then it was yours. If you wanted a movie, you bought the DVD. If you wanted music, you bought the album. If you wanted software, you bought the software. There was a beginning, a payment, and an end. Ownership was the default. You bought a thing, you owned the thing. Simple. But then technology started changing everything. The internet became faster. Streaming became possible. Digital products become easier to distribute. And suddenly, business discovered a completely different way of making money. Instead of selling products, they could sell access. And access came with one enormous advantage: customers never had to stop paying. At first, it sounded amazing. Why spend $100 today when you can spend only $10 per month? Why buy an entire music collection when millions of songs are available instantly? Why purchase expensive software when everything can be accessed for a small monthly fee? To customers, it felt like progress. But beneath that convenience, a much bigger shift was beginning. A shift most people never noticed. Because people weren't just changing how they paid, they were changing what ownership meant. And over time, ownership slowly stopped being the goal, and access became the product. And once access became the product, subscriptions stopped being an exception. They became the new normal. The strange thing is, people didn't fight this change. In fact, most people welcomed it because subscriptions solved a real problem: convenience. Imagine living in 2005. You want to watch a movie, you buy a DVD. You want to watch new music, you buy an album. You want software, you buy a disk. Install it, update it yourself. Hope nothing breaks. Everything required effort. Then the subscription era arrived. Suddenly, billions of songs lived inside your pocket. Thousands of movies appeared instantly. Files synchronized automatically. Software updated itself. Everything became easier. And honestly, people loved it. Because convenience feels incredible. Convenience saves time. But convenience has a strange side effect. When something became easy enough, people stopped questioning the cost. And that's exactly what happened. At first, subscriptions felt cheaper. $10, $12, $15, tiny numbers. Numbers small enough to ignore. But while customers focused on convenience, businesses were paying attention to something else entirely: predictability. Because selling products is unpredictable. A customer might buy once, they might never return. But a subscription customer? That customer keeps paying next month and the month after that. For businesses, it was a dream. For customers, it felt harmless. And that's why the subscriptions economy expands so quickly. Not because people were foolish, but because both sides were getting exactly what they wanted. Companies received predictable revenue, customers received convenience. Everyone seemed to win. At least that's what it looked like. Because hidden beneath that convenience, another problem was quietly growing. A problem rooted deep inside human psychology. A problem that would eventually turn tiny monthly payments into one of the biggest financial blind spots in modern history. The more fascinating part of subscription economy is that it wasn't built on technology. It was built on streaming. It was built on human psychology. Because long before subscription existed, human beings already had a weakness most people never noticed. Humans are surprisingly bad at understanding cumulative spending. Imagine someone takes $500 from your bank account. You notice immediately. Now imagine losing $10 not once but every month for years. Strangely, that often feels less painful. Not because it costs less, but because the human brain doesn't experience money logically. It experiences money emotionally. And emotionally, small recurring payments became invisible. That's the real secret. Because once money starts leaving slowly, people stop reacting to it. The payments became background noise, a notification, a bank transaction, a line of statement nobody reads, and eventually something strange happens. People stop deciding whether they want the subscription. They simply continue paying, month after month, not because they love it, not because they use it every day, but because canceling requires attention, and attention is expensive. This is why so many people have subscriptions they barely use. Not because they are careless, because human beings are designed to focus on immediate problems. The brain pays attention to emergencies, not tiny financial leaks. And modern business learned how powerful that weakness could be. Because once a payment becomes part of someone's routine, it stops feeling like a purchase. It starts to feel normal. And that's where the trap becomes dangerous. Because luxury eventually feels normal. And once something feels normal, losing it starts feeling painful. That's why canceling a subscription often feels worse than starting one. Because somewhere along the way, people stopped asking, "Do I own this?" and started asking, "Can I live without it?" When people talk about subscription, they usually talk about money, how much they cost, how many they have, how many they could cancel. But honestly, money might be the least interesting part of the entire story. Because the biggest cost of subscriptions isn't money, it's freedom, financial freedom. The freedom that comes from needing less. Think about it. Every subscriptions start as an option, but over time, options have a strange habit of becoming obligations. Because freedom isn't measured by how much you earn. Freedom is measured by how much you need. Because once enough subscription became part of daily life, they stopped feeling optional. They became infrastructure, invisible, expected, automatic. And that's exactly why the system works so well. Because the strongest subscriptions aren't the ones people love, they're the ones people stop questioning. The ones that quietly became part of your everyday life, simply because canceling them no longer feels worth thinking about. And when enough of life operates that way, something strange starts happening. People don't just subscribe to products anymore, they subscribe to lifestyles. And that's where the subscription trap becomes much more than money. Because subscriptions are no longer a trend, they're becoming infrastructure. And once a business model becomes infrastructure, it starts shaping the future. Think about how much of your modern life depends on recurring payments. Your entertainment, your music, your storage, your software, your memberships, your productivity tools. More and more of your life now operates on a simple condition: keep paying or lose access. And for now, that might not seem like a big deal. Until you realize something strange. Ownership used to create certainty. Once you bought something, it was yours. No monthly decisions, no recurring charge, no ongoing obligations. Today, many products are no longer end with a purchase. They begin with one, and that's fundamentally different relations. Because ownership creates independence. Subscriptions create dependence. Not dependence in a dramatic sense, dependence in a practical one. The service remains useful, so the payments continue. And eventually, the line between want and need starts disappearing. That's why the future of subscription isn't really about Netflix, it's about normalization. The normalization of permanent payments. A world where fewer things are fully owned and more things are continuously rented. Maybe that's more efficient. Maybe it's more convenient. Maybe for some products, it genuinely is better. But regardless of the whether it's good or bad, it's changing how people interact with money. Maybe the most important question isn't how many subscriptions do I have. Maybe it's, if I stop paying tomorrow, how much of my life would disappear? And honestly, subscriptions aren't evil. Netflix isn't evil. Spotify isn't evil. Most subscription services solve real problems. They save time. They create convenience. They make modern life easier. The problem isn't about the subscription itself. The problem is what happens when enough subscription quietly became part of your everyday life. Because at some point, people stop paying for products and start paying to maintain their lifestyle. That's the difference. And it's a difference most people never noticed until much later. And when they look at their finances and wonder why earning more money never seemed to create more freedom, maybe that's because freedom was never about income alone. Maybe freedom is also about ownership, also about needing less, about having fewer things demanding money every month. And that's where real financial freedom begins. Not when you earn more money, not when you buy more, but when you became intentional about what actually deserves a payment place in your life. Because the subscription trap was never really about money. It was about ownership. So that is it from my side. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this channel. because in the future, I'll bring every video that you need and want to see to improve your daily life and your future self. Till then, I'll see you in the next one.